During the 2023 NATO summit in Vilnius, Lithuania, the alliance faced a high-stakes pressure point. The top item on the agenda was whether the United States and its allies should provide a formal security guarantee to Ukraine, a country actively fighting a war of attrition. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky took an incredibly aggressive negotiating stance. He threatened to boycott the meetings entirely unless Ukraine was given a clear, direct roadmap guaranteeing NATO membership the moment the war ended. When you watch a nation endure a brutal invasion, expanding a massive defense pact to protect them feels like the obvious moral choice. The instinct is to offer help to those under siege. But sympathy is a terrible foundation for foreign policy. The sole purpose of a military alliance is to protect vital national interests. Writing blank checks to other nations introduces massive, invisible risks to the country providing the guarantee. To understand those risks, we have to look at how NATO has changed. During the Cold War, it was a strict military defense pact designed to block a Soviet invasion of Europe. After the Soviet Union collapsed, that mission drifted. The alliance became a vehicle for spreading Western democratic values eastward. That shift meant adding numerous small countries with almost zero military capacity or power projection. Take Montenegro, added to the alliance in 2017. Their entire military force is 17 times smaller than the New York City Police Department. Blindly adding weak allies to a defense pact dilutes the alliance and introduces a dangerous geopolitical trap, one that threatens to pull the United States into a conflict it does not want. This diagram illustrates a concept in international relations known as chain ganging. It happens when a massive, heavy superpower binds itself permanently to a small, vulnerable state through absolute security guarantees. The smaller state knows it cannot win a conflict on its own, which gives it a massive incentive to take risks. If that minor state falls into a war, the rigid chain ensures the powerful partner is dragged down into the chasm right along with it. In NATO, that chain is Article 5. It is the literal mechanism stating that an armed attack against one member is universally considered an attack against them all. Article 5 transforms NATO membership into an automatic, inescapable trigger for direct conflict between the United States and a nuclear-armed Russia. We already have a concrete example of this dynamic playing out in real time. In November 2022, a missile crossed the border and struck a farming facility in Poland. The strike killed 2 Polish citizens. Physical evidence quickly proved that the weapon was a Ukrainian air defense missile that had gone off course. Both Polish and NATO leadership publicly acknowledged that it was an unfortunate accident. Despite this, the Ukrainian government aggressively insisted that the missile was a deliberate Russian attack on Polish soil. By pushing a false narrative of a Russian attack on a NATO member, Kyiv was actively trying to manufacture an Article 5 trigger. It was a calculated attempt by a weaker partner to chain gang American and European troops directly into the war. That missile strike is part of a broader pattern. Ukraine-aligned factions have repeatedly carried out reckless, escalatory operations far outside their own borders. U.S. intelligence suspects that Ukraine-aligned actors were responsible for the sabotage and destruction of the Nord Stream pipelines, a massive piece of European energy infrastructure. We have also seen cross-border raids, the targeted assassinations of Russian intellectuals, and covert drone strikes reaching all the way to the Kremlin itself in Moscow. The official Ukrainian government vehemently denies organizing or authorizing any of these operations. If those denials are true, the situation is actually worse. It means far-right military units like the Azov Battalion and the Polish Volunteer Corps are operating completely outside of Kiev's control. You cannot manage a security guarantee when the partner state doesn't control its own fighters. These uncontrollable factions drastically multiply the threat, meaning the U.S. could be dragged into an apocalyptic war by rogue actors who answer to no one. The danger of being chain-ganged into a proxy war is not limited to what Ukraine does. The rhetoric is spreading to official NATO members. Anders Rasmussen, the former Secretary General of NATO, publicly suggested that Poland and a separate coalition of the willing might independently deploy their own troops directly into Ukraine. Look at how this network creates a deadly loophole. If an allied nation enters a war zone independently, they expose their troops to attack. When those casualties happen, a distress signal travels right back up the alliance chain to Washington, demanding a rescue. When U.S. leadership remains ambiguous about where our boundaries lie, smaller allies assume the American military will always be there to bail them out. That assumption encourages them to act recklessly. Alliances are tools designed to advance American interests. They are not moral ends in themselves, and they require strict boundaries to function safely. U.S. leaders must explicitly declare that, while allies are free to escalate conflicts on their own, America will not allow itself to be dragged into a fight over their risky choices. To prevent the disaster of a direct war with Russia, America must realize that true national security requires knowing exactly who not to chain yourself to.